So Weed, Love and Law, that's the title of our latest Hotline documentary produced by Latif Idris. It focuses on whether or not marijuana should be legalized. As debate on legalizing recreational marijuana intensifies, we want to discuss the potential economic gains. At least that's what the advocacy has been about. My guests, well, maybe surprising to some of you because he usually talks on football matters. He's a journalist, but he's also a herbal advocate. He's actually chairman of the Hemp Association. And our clinical psychologist, Seth Asafo, would also join us in this conversation. But let me say good morning to... Okay, so good morning. I see you, Seth Asafo. Good morning to you. Thanks for joining us. He will be joining us via Skype. All right. Nana Kwekwajiman is here. Good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. So first of all, there's a whole conference coming up that will also share and talk about the benefits. But if you've been monitoring, I'm sure you have because you're in this business, there are a lot of people advocating for us to legalize recreational marijuana. Is that your call too?
No, it's not my call. I think that when we talk solely about recreational marijuana, we're missing the point. You see, I've watched your documentary, and as we can see now, the only thing you're showing is people smoking, ingesting marijuana through inhalation. I'm not talking about that, and the vast majority of advocates are not talking about smoking. Yes, it comes into the picture, but we've gone beyond smoke because it represents 0.0000001 of the potential uses of marijuana. What we don't understand here is there's two types. I'll use the name cannabis. There are two types of cannabis. There's cannabis sativa and there's cannabis indica. Now, cannabis sativa you don't smoke. It's the stuff that the Van Goghs have painted on. These famous paintings that are hanging all over the place. The oil paint has been made out of hemp. The canvas has been made out of hemp. You know, the first Bible is written in Amharic, is written on hemp paper. You know, there's so much things we don't know about.
So when you say hemp, help me to understand.
Well, I'm talking about the weed. As I've said, one is cannabis sativa and one is cannabis indica. Now, cannabis sativa is industrial hemp. You don't actually smoke it.
Okay.
What it has in common with cannabis indica is that it has cannabidiol. That is what it has in common. But apart from that, it doesn't possess the THC, which is the psychoactive component of it. It's anti-psychotic.
So when we say Indian hemp, which one are we referring to?
Well, you see, the thing about it, there's so many names. Indian hemp, ganja, marijuana, blah, blah. When we say these names, we actually don't know what we're talking about. This is the issue. We don't know what we're talking about.
So the one that we see people smoke?
The one that we see people smoke is cannabis indica. Now that contains the THC, the psychoactive component, which gives you the high. But that cannabis indica is also medicinal. It's also medicinal. It deals with all the cancers, cervical, prostate, breast, you name it, skin cancer. It deals with all the cancers. It deals with epilepsy. It deals with autism. It deals with multiple sclerosis. It reduces inflammation. There's so many things that cannabis indica does, the one that we smoke. It's unbelievable. Cannabis sativa, there's 50,000 uses for it. You are sitting on one of the uses for it. It will make a chair. It will make your clothes. It will make your shoes. It will make the entire studio. You can make the building out of hempcrete. In Western Australia, they build whole communities out of hempcrete. And when you build property out of hempcrete, the bonus you have is that hempcrete absorbs carbon dioxide. So you're actually, there's an environmental benefit because we know that carbon dioxide emissions are killing the earth. We talk about global warming. So just imagine if you had one country that built all its properties out of hempcrete. That would be significant in terms of reducing global warming.
So what you're saying is very positive, which is, I'm hearing some of the things for the very first time, which surprises me. Why do we only know about the negatives, the negative impacts of its usage on us?
The reason why we only know about the negatives of marijuana is because that's all we go in search of. In fact, when we do the research, we're only researching. You look at all the research that has taken place so far. All the research is based on negativity. We are only going out to look at the negative aspects of marijuana. And then we come back with our 100-page report, reporting on all the negative aspects. We don't actually go out there looking on the what is beneficial in dealing with marijuana.
I want us to engage our clinical psychologists because I want to pick a certain perspective from there. So, Mr. Asafo, if you can hear me. Okay, we don't have him yet. I wanted him to bring the perspective of the people that we see that we're told are suffering because of the usage of marijuana.
Well, I always say that if anybody tells you that after smoking marijuana they became mad, they were 100% mad in the first place.
Really?
Yes, absolutely.
So you don't believe that
not at all.
Smoking marijuana could lead to somebody...
I mean, anything that is taken out of a moderation context can harm you. That one there for sure. But let me say this. 2.2 million people in Ghana smoke marijuana.
Where are you getting the statistics from?
You can look it up. It's on the internet. It's there. 2.2 million, and it's a solid fact. People smoke marijuana in this country. Now, what we do here, because we're great at being hypocrites, we talk about the Rastafarian community and those people like me who have dreadlocks. We point the finger at those people when really the people who are smoking marijuana the most are people like you, are people like Roland, are people like your TV crew. That's fine. But I'm saying the people who consume marijuana the most through ingesting it, through inhalation, are people who look like you. They are the lawmakers, the policymakers, the doctors, the lawyers, the dentists,
so the everyday
surgeons.
People.
Absolutely.
Do you smoke?
I don't smoke at all. I don't smoke. I have smoked before. I've stopped smoking about 15 years ago now. I don't smoke anymore.
But you use the product for other things.
Of course, as you say that, let me just take my medicine because I brought along my hemp. It's medicine time, so I'll ingest it so that everyone can see.
So this is what exactly?
This is CBD oil, and this is good for my asthma. And this is why I take it. You can take CBD oil for your cervical cancer, your prostate cancer, your autism, your multiple sclerosis, and a variety. The list is endless.
So this is manufactured out of marijuana?
This one is manufactured out of hemp. So you don't get the full extract because hemp, remember, there's no THC in there. There's no THC in there.
Okay, so I want to say something because I want to make reference to the
laws. Let me take my medicine first.
The laws that we have in Ghana, which prohibits business relating to narcotics, because hemp will be characterized as narcotics in Ghana. So it says, and I'm picking this from PNDC law 236. 236 is a 1990 law. It says no person shall without lawful authority manufacture, produce or distribute narcotic drugs. No person shall without lawful authority undertake any activity for the purpose of establishing or promoting any enterprise relating to narcotics. A person who without lawful authority has in his possession or under his control any machine, equipment, tool, utensils, or any other material or article for the manufacture, production, distribution, administration, or use of narcotic drug commits an offense. A person who commits an offense under this section and is found guilty is liable on conviction to a term imprisonment of not less than 10 years. It's illegal.
That's what they say. It's
illegal to do what you've just done.
No, okay, fine. Fine, if that's how you want to put it, that's fine by me. You see, what I've just done, I've taken CBD. And as far as I'm concerned, I've not taken anything that is illegal because cannabis is only illegal because of THC, that is tetrahydrocannabinol, the component that makes one go high. Now, what I have taken possesses cannabidiol. It doesn't possess any THC at all. And this can be tested by the Food and Drugs Authority. The problem we have is because people don't actually know what they're talking about, is they've gone and classified hemp as a narcotic drug, when in fact it isn't. And the world can bear me witness to that. The world can bear witness to that. This is the biggest problem in Ghana. We focus so much on smoking that we've missed the bigger picture. We've failed to think outside of the box, and we've just classified everything to use a parlance, all we be we. And we are so wrong. We are so wrong.
So what you've just, the medicine that you took, obviously not made in Ghana.
Obviously not.
Okay. Does it make you high?
It can't. You're not listening to me. Hemp does not have THC. That is the component that makes you high. Hemp is industrial. It doesn't possess any THC at all. Now, if I'd taken THC, that would be different. I may be able to feel something from ingesting it in the way that I've ingested it, which is under the tongue, because it goes into the body's bloodstream and everything much quicker. Yeah, it's the appropriate way to actually take it. Now, we mustn't get these two things confused. I do want the decriminalization of marijuana, because we have children in Ghana who are suffering chronically from epilepsy, and we are feeding them the wrong type of medication. It's not going to do anything to you, and I guarantee you, you bring someone here who suffers from epilepsy, and I will give that person, I will administer CBD every day to that person, and you will see, first of all, the seizures will reduce, and eventually they will stop. I guarantee you that.
So why don't we know this as a country?
Because, I mean, what research do we do as a country? That's a great question you asked me. I'm going to throw it back to you. What is the nature of the research we do in this country? We have research organizations here. They don't do any research, especially into the benefits of marijuana. And I've told you before that all prior research has been into the negativity surrounding marijuana. We need to open our minds. We need to really focus. We need to think out of the box. Other countries are thinking outside of the box, and look at what is happening. Over 20 states in America have decriminalized. Some have legalized. Do you know what it means in terms of tax revenue, a new tax revenue stream that is there for government? They're talking billions.
But do you agree that if we did something like that, we see a lot more people smoking it?
It's not true, because the same fallacy was propagated when we talked about cigarettes. But how many people do you see smoking cigarettes? How many Ghanaians do you see smoking cigarettes?
Is it not because of all the advocacies? Now you cannot advertise cigarettes,
nothing to do with that.
And they have to write boldly there that cigarette could harm you. You know, we've done a lot of things. And that is probably scaring people from using it?
You won't scare people like that. Nothing to do with that at all. Nothing to do with that at all. There's a myth that once you make it readily available, everyone will go crazy on it. Cigarette shows you that that's not the case. Even alcohol shows you that that's not the case, even though these are one of the biggest two killers in the world. Tobacco abuse and alcohol abuse. They're one of the biggest killers. But with marijuana, I mean, look, people die from cancer. People die from cancer. People die from cancer because of nicotine. People die because of alcohol abuse. Yeah? How many people have died from marijuana?
Is there a study? Is there any research?
Well, I'm asking.
I don't know.
We spend our time researching negatively, but nobody can say that there is one person who has died because of marijuana use.
Let me bring in our clinical psychologist who couldn't join us via Skype, but he can join us via phone. Ms. Asafo, I don't know how much of this conversation you've been following already, but if I ask for your thoughts whether or not to legalize based on your profession where you sit, where would you say?
Very much, and good morning. In some instances I will agree, in other instances I will disagree. And this is it. I heard him talk a lot about THC. I didn't hear him talk about CBD. But he's right when he says that hemp doesn't have the amount of THC that causes a high. Now, in most cases, I think the research into marijuana use has not really gained so much ground because it was criminalized in the first place. And of course, there are some advantages of using marijuana in the form of CBD, which is cannabidiol. Now, THC, which is tetrahydrocannabinol, is the component that causes, has more of these negative effects. So, from a clinical psychological point of view, people who have like psychotic episodes or what we normally see on the street as mad people, there's a hypothesis that says that it's because a neurotransmitter in their brain, which is dopamine, is in excess, and this is caused by THC levels, which increases the amount of dopamine in the mind.
Okay,
now,
but you said there's a hypothesis.
We call it the dopamine hypothesis.
Okay.
It's difficult to say what causes a specific disorder. So it's one of the reasons. But yes, we found in the increasing research that has shown that increasing the level of dopamine in a person's brain leads to hallucinations and all these delusions and then the rest that makes it a clinical case which is significant. Now, on the other hand, if it were to be decriminalized, it would mean that more positive marijuana in the form of hemp would be readily available. In the second place, it means that there will be enough regulations or guidelines on how to first of all grow the plant, how to process it, and then it will reduce the amount of mixing with other drugs that might toss people off what that particular hemp is all about. Now, I'm talking about hemp specifically because there's a difference between hemp and marijuana.
First of all, explain the difference.
Okay, so hemp has more of what you call the CBD, which is the cannabidiol. Now, cannabidiol is an extract from marijuana, but it has no psychoactive effect, so it doesn't cause a high. And so generally when you hear people say like they have treatments with glaucoma, cancers and seizures and all of that, essentially they are on the CBD.
Okay. So that's exactly what Nanajman has been telling me about.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly. So that is very accurate. Now for THC, why I'm concerned is that THC has an addictive potential, which means that even if it was allowed, now current research is showing that when research into marijuana started, not in Ghana, for example, the THC levels in many of the marijuanas that were being sold or pot that was being sold was about 12%, but now it's about 30%. So there is a business aspect. Now, if you get someone addicted, they will use more and more and more of it. That's the first thing. And the second thing is, when you use it for a certain high, it gets to a point where that high is not enough for you. And so you need an extra kick to get the same feeling of euphoria that you used to get.
Okay.
And that's the addictive aspect of it that we're concerned about. And trust me, it is very difficult to treat people who have any form of substance dependence. It is a difficult thing. Now, CBD, which is the hemp aspect, has been used in some clinical trials to reduce the amount of dependency that THC or tetrahydrocannabinol has produced. So that's why I say, to some extent, I'll agree to legalization because it would give the necessary guidelines and regulations for these to be used. Of course, there's always going to be some black market aspect of it, but it will reduce the amount of illegal use. Plus, it will make it easier for people to access help if they think they're actually addicted or if they're considered addicted.
Okay, very interesting. So, Nana, you've been sharing with us some of the positive aspects in terms of what we could gain from this. I was asking about how much we could be making, because, for instance, now we know that we lose about 3 million from just destroying marijuana in terms of
it's more than that.
It's more than that?
It's more than that.
Okay.
And I actually wrote to the Ministry of Interior and Defense and advised them that when they found any other fields, that they should cut it down and bring it to a bonded warehouse, and myself and my team, we would prepare it and package it so that we could sell it and generate an income for the government of Ghana.
What was the response?
Well, we've seen it the other day. They went and burnt millions of US dollars. They didn't just burn marijuana. You burnt millions of US dollars. Canada will buy it today. 23 states in the United States of America will buy it today. Israel will buy it today. Portugal will buy it today. Holland will buy it today. Spain will buy it today. Is there really any sense in what we are doing? Does it make sense? What we are doing? You are burning money and then you turn back round and you run to the IMF for a loan when you have the potential of making the money in your own country.
So what we're burning, we can export in its raw form?
In its raw form immediately. Let me tell you, a bud of marijuana, a gram of marijuana on today's market costs between $25 US and $50. That's 1 gram. 28 grams make an ounce. 28 grams make an ounce. So you do the maths just on that, small scale.
So when you say so many of us in Ghana use marijuana.
Yeah, you're busily smoking it in your homes, in the luxury of your privacy, and then you're coming out and pointing fingers at other people and saying that we can't legalize because these people will be walking around smoking weed. So, it's not true. The lawyers will be smoking it, the doctors will be smoking it, the policymakers will be smoking it, the lawmakers.
Some of them will be smoking it, not all of them will be smoking it?
Of course. Obviously not all of them. But you see, the thing also about this madness statement, 2.2 million people in Ghana smoke it. But the psychiatric wards that we have, do we have 100,000 people in there who claim to be mad smoking it?
Let me ask. Let me ask Seth now on this.
Do we have 1,000?
Can you please, did you hear the question?
We don't have 1,000, but interestingly, what you need to know is that there are a lot more people who have some form of marijuana-induced psychosis who were put in prayer camps or other alternate forms of healing anyway. That's not to say that it is caused by just smoking marijuana. There are myriad of factors that could account for it. But we've had instances of dealing with people like this. And interestingly, you know, if you take, for example, like a marijuana-induced psychosis, and the person goes off the marijuana for a month or two, the psychosis becomes residual. So there is evidence that the THC component, okay, and being specific on THC, it causes these psychotic episodes. So it's there. Our mental health facilities are not in that state to accommodate 1,000. But if they were, we'd probably be seeing something close to that.
Yeah, but it goes to show that theory about smoking weed and madness isn't really true.
So why don't we start?
Isn't true.
Should we agree that we need to do proper research on this? Research that is strictly Ghana.
Well, you see,
because that's the only way we can properly proceed.
No, it's not the only way. You see, we don't have to reinvent the wheel. The research material is out there. It exists. You know, once you can read and write, you can have access to it. It's there. It's real. It exists. First world countries have made mind-sweeping decisions based on that. Mind-boggling decisions based on that.
But Nana, you know our country now. Even when we have the laws, we don't enforce the laws. These other countries that you're making reference to are places that even when we visit as Ghanaians, we behave. But as soon as we come back to our country, we begin to misbehave.
Unfortunately.
So we're not there.
Unfortunately.
We're not there. If you talk about legalizing it because we're going to regulate it, how many of us will believe that?
No, it's not necessarily about what we believe. You see, regulation is key because you can't just issue licenses without regulation. But first of all, you must know the difference between what you're regulating. Because my argument to NARCOB is that you have wrongly classified hemp as a narcotic drug.
Okay, so first of all, your point is hemp should not be...
It should not be classified.
Narcotic drugs.
It shouldn't be at all.
Which is prohibited.
Which is prohibited in Ghana. It shouldn't be. And that's a clear indication that the people who make the decisions don't know what they're talking about.
But this is an old law.
Yeah, and they've done copy and paste. They've done copy and paste and brought it back to a parliamentary select committee to go through it clause by clause. We're currently engaged in that practice at the moment. Now, if we'd just thought out of the box a little bit and just looked at what is available, some of what is in that PNDC thing wouldn't be in there now. But we're lazy. We're lazy. It's lazy work.
So how is that going? How is that going in terms of what is in Parliament?
We're making progress because look, if somebody is caught with a spliff, a reef, a joint, one, and you send them to jail for 10 years, you're doing more damage to that person than the one spliff you caught in that person's possession. And by and large, it's our young folk. So we're whisking away the future of Ghanaians and Ghana by throwing them all in jail for long term, 10 years. And what do they learn in there? How many prisons do we have that are purpose built? 3, 4, 5? The rest are all forts. So what are we doing? We're damaging lives.
People could make the same argument for other offences as well.
No,
because
we're
people
not talking about other offences.
2 spoons of Milo and they are sent to prison.
I accept that, but we're not talking about that. That's an idiosyncrasy within the system, really, when you look at it. Because if I take 2 spoons of Milo and you tell me 10 years, even the judge has, he's got a psychotic problem. So
how is that if the judge is going strictly according to what is provided in the books?
Common sense.
Because if you've committed crime, there is punishment which is prescribed.
Common sense.
And so you can't go outside that box.
This is the problem. There's PhDs all floating all over the place. Everyone's got a PhD. You go to everyone's house, they're there holding it, and not a drop of common sense, because you can go outside of the law. There's something that is called precedent. You can set a precedent. Do you understand? So if somebody comes to you and they've stolen two teaspoons of whatever, you can set a precedent. Your common sense can come into play and say that this is something that shouldn't cost the state over the next 10 years, housing that person, feeding that person, etc., etc., etc. And it shouldn't also ruin the life of that person either.
Okay, so in wrapping up this conversation, you've mentioned the fact that this should not, in terms of hemp, should not be classified.
Shouldn't be classified.
As a narcotic. You're also against the punishment in terms of.
Absolutely. The punishment is draconian. It's madness, quite frankly. I'm saying that with a whisper. It shouldn't be happening at all. Common sense must prevail. The research is out there. Everything is out there. We can access it quite easily. There are experts that are out there, like the neuroscientist, Professor Carl Hart, who's coming from the United States of America. He's landing here today.
Okay, so just use that to tell us about the conference, because you're already talking about it.
Tomorrow he'll give a lecture. And I urge this neuroscientist to come there, because I know he's going to learn something. And I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's talking about. As in our clinical psychologist that we engaged this morning. Yes. He should go there. And I can't tell you exactly what the lecturer is going to say. And if I could, I wouldn't, because then you wouldn't go to the lecture. But it's going to be edifying. It's going to be edifying. He's a neuroscientist. He's going to talk about these issues, about whether we can be addicted to marijuana, whether it can make you mad, etc., etc. It's going to be very, very good. It's from 12:30 till 4 p.m.
Tomorrow Thursday
at the Accra Metropolitan Assembly. But before I go, can I just show you how I live a nice hemp life, if you don't mind, and your viewers?
Yeah, it has to be real quick though.
Yeah, it has to be real quick. Now, your cameras can zoom in. That's my hemp shampoo for my locks. That's my hemp cream. Would you like some cream? Try some cream. Now I've got you now. It's now illegal. You're in trouble. They're coming to arrest you. That's the hemp cream. That's the hemp body wash. There's my hemp seeds. You can put that in your wachi, put it in your yogurt, put it in your ice cream. It's very nutritious. I train a lot, so I drink the good old hemp.
So this is not produced in Ghana?
None of it is
and
produced
this is
in
not
Ghana.
The hemp that makes you go high?
Not at all.
Okay.
In fact, this is hemp. This is hemp. It's a fiber. You can make property out of hemp. It makes the strongest wood. It makes all your clothes. It makes your shoes.
This is not the one they smoke?
No.
Okay.
No, but it looks like it. This is why I'm saying to you.
So the one they smoke is just like this one?
It looks the same when you look at the plant.
Okay.
But what you do with the plant is the difference. You see, and can you imagine that NARCOB are saying this is against the law? So when I have a shower, do I get high? When I wash my hair, do I get high? When I cream my skin,
So have we tested this in terms
No.
of our standards
No,
authority?
FDA hasn't tested any of this.
So then we don't know if this is acceptable in
Oh.
terms of what we what we require.
You're very good at playing the devil's advocate. I like it.
We have to go.
I like it.
Well, thank you very much. I don't know where this is going to lead us to, but we're certainly having the conversation. So,
Well, it should lead me and a number of people like me back into your studios, and I've seen your documentary, which some bits are good, some bits are bad, more bits are actually bad, but I would
because we focused on those who are smoking it.
That's all. And I would say to your directors or your producers, I challenge you, back me, provide me with the equipment, and I'll make you a 13-week documentary on the health benefits, the environmental benefits, and the economic benefits of decriminalizing marijuana.
Okay, I'm going to look for sponsorship for that. Thank you very much for your time.